put on SIG elections for involving persons with disabilities, the elderly, and the young people. First of all, if my colleague from the DP, the party president, says that they were able to participate this time around, having been around for a very long time, then why would you, question us who are just a month-old Sabiti?
I'm using your own measures to judge you. When you sit and speak, we have these things on record.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have spoken consistently, for example, about the failures of the FDC and Dr. Besigye to actually get the presidency and things like that. And then here we are with reality. The NRM is beating you at your doorstep in a place like Kamwokya.
You see, you have to place this in context, Sabiti. How did they beat us? In which context? Because if you're to look at the 4 key pillars that I've looked at in assessing and analyzing the youth election, the very first one is, first of all, we are in a COVID situation, and no SOPs were followed, because we have already seen that NRM guys are already not doing what? They are already breaking the SOPs. Then you have to look at the security agents. The power of the security. We discovered that the security is no longer, the security agents were no longer working for peace and to ensure that the elections move on, but they were intimidating so many of our contenders. I have examples. In Katakwi, some of our agents were actually arrested. Those with stamps were arrested and taken away, so we could not even do what? We could not even stamp. Simple things like that. Okay. In Jinja here, in one of the elections, the people that had contested, especially in some sub-counties, they were not even able to conduct elections because of certain things. So yes, I realize, and we cannot say that you've been in a bubble without understanding the context of Uganda, organizing and the challenges therein. We understand it, and even when we organize and strategize, it's out of context. It's not the normal business. We pick lessons from the organizations, from the political parties that have been around, but also it's helping us. This is a stepping stone.
Okay.
What we are going to is even we are more prepared for what we are going to than the youth election.
We'll talk about that.
So Ugandans need not to fear. This is not a projection of what will happen in 2021. I guarantee you that.
Honorable Poa, for you, you will be on the campaign trail speaking to the FDC delegates. You want to be their presidential candidate. What will you be telling them about these, what I would call miserable results from the youth and special interest group elections for the FDC particularly?
It is true we have been in this election as long as they have taken place, fielded candidates, and every time there is the next election for special interest groups, we have managed to increase the number of candidates that contest under the FDC. But what one needs to interrogate is whether this was actually an election, or even the elections that came before, actual elections. And my colleagues have alluded to some of the challenges that opposition political parties have to endure in the cause of canvassing for votes and actually even getting candidates. It's worth noting that this particular election was under the control and direction of the Gombolola intelligence security organizations. And so they're the ones who called the shots. That is one aspect. Very hostile environment under which we operated that caused fear in the young people, that also caused some who would have loved to contest in political parties other than the FDC, my friends in NUP, my friends in the Democratic Party, having to run as independents. Because the nature of politics in this country is that once you show your side and it's against the NRM, then you are going to be targeted. Targeted with deprivation. You are going to be targeted and harmed in certain cases. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is the way this election was conducted. You can imagine in rural Kisoro, where somebody has to have a form in duplicate. The Electoral Commission didn't provide these forms. One had to move from their villages to a trading center or town to have the forms photocopied. By the time they got to the polling station or where they were contesting from in their villages, the election was over. Remember that we are talking not of a simple operation of 10,000, areas. No. We have over 68,000 villages in this country. And you can imagine these parties here that have got financial stress, that have not got the muscle that the NRM has in terms of the security apparatus standing by their side. What would happen? The third aspect.
Just that, to follow up on that, the Forum for Democratic Change that you lead has always prided itself in being a party that will win by defiance, number one, but also two, as a party that understands how what you call the junta operates. So I am surprised that you are surprised things happen this way.
Don't be surprised, because we are not surprised. I'm actually telling you what happens. There are certain things that are beyond control of these young people, village folks. Some of these people are not schooled, they are not educated, remember. They live in rural communities. At least the urban youth that are empowered can stand up and begin to fight with policemen. We saw indeed, some scenes shown on camera of people resisting. Now, defiance is not something that you switch on and off. You got to get started. You got to prepare. And so, when you go to this kind of election without the mindset, believing that you are going into an election that is supposed to be free and fair, then you are not going to prepare to fight. The third aspect, before you interrupted me, is the aspect of the nature of voting. Youth lining up, just like in the LC election, and exposing themselves. There is no freedom to make choice of the kind of leader that you would love. Some of them threatened by the fact that they don't go beyond their villages. The nearest they can go from the proximity of their villages is probably the trading center. And so our young people are intimidated as they even go to line behind their candidate of preference. And therefore, it takes a strong will by the individual or a group of individuals to really stand up and stand for their rights and show their side. And so really, I think that by and large, the opposition in this country performed so well, even to be able to put up candidates. I think this is the best performance that the opposition in the country has registered.
Okay.
But that said,
yes,
for this election, there was a confused environment, as Flavia has just said. It ran parallel with the internal election of the NRM. And anybody could confuse this election to be an NRM election.
That's why you are
indeed, the responsibility, Mr. Sabiti,
yes,
of voter education or civic education falls on the Electoral Commission by law.
Fair enough.
Yes, they are supposed to have funding to educate.
I just wanted you to take this. That is absolutely why you're the president of the FDC. You correctly have diagnosed the problems of this country, the election environment in which you operate. Somebody would think that as the master tactician of the FDC, that is what you're prepared to deal with, sir.
And we are prepared to deal with it. We are not going to sleep until we have a fair election here in this country. And I want to say to viewers and you, Sabiti, that the election of 2021 is not business as usual. I will be speaking a little bit about that.
All right, we'll talk about it.
But I would like to also make this point.
Yes.
The fact that Museveni is prepared to award himself a certain percentage. That 60-something or 70-something% is not an innocent percentage. He's celebrating it. Indeed, he did that this evening, we're watching on television. He is going to give himself that percentage in the presidential election on the basis of this youth election. So it is a way to prepare the minds of the people and to be able to say at the end of the day that, look, we performed well. We got 70-something% in the youth election. And so there is no surprise that we have scored 80%. Okay. So it's really clearing the way for himself to issue a statement. We know he is going to allocate himself votes. The election of 2021 is already rigged. There is evidence to that effect. And I think we are just going into this election of 2021 fighting. That is what we believe in as the FDC.
Okay. Honorable Norbert Mao, finally, was there a conversation about working together with other political groups that you share a stand with in regard to changing this country in this election?
The rivalry between the political parties in opposition has never been more intense, which is rather demoralizing to Ugandans. And I have to admit, as a leader of one of the parties, that somehow we have not even started an inclusive conversation. So you find one party talking to another, one leader talking to another, and so in a way we are like beating the shadow of the snake. And the snake is up there looking at us in bewilderment.
Got someone else.
Yeah, it is true that an environment of dictatorship can make you think your friend is your enemy and your enemy is your friend. It is confusing. But it again is about what our shared objective is. Speaking for a party like DP, we have resisted the urge to condense our struggle into a struggle to remove Museveni only. Removing Museveni is a means to an end. And it is important for us to articulate. Otherwise, we have had a series of evictions of leaders who are perceived as bad for the country. And the leaders are welcomed with the pomp and ceremony. But because it is in human nature to deal with the immediate problem, if you have a pimple on your nose, nothing else seems to matter. If you have a toothache, nothing else seems to matter. So that is a debate that we should have as leaders. And the other thing is to know the extent to which we complement each other.
Okay.
We all have comparative advantages as political parties in terms of the caliber of leaders that we can bring to the common front, in terms of the skill sets, in terms of the level of support, so that we can have proper building blocks. Now, the media has also contributed to creating a perception that the main thing is the extent to which you undermine another opposition party.
Do you want to blame that on the media, Honorable Mao? And they simply a reflection of the society, and they simply a mirror?
I would say it is a reflection. I will then moderate my charge and say I charge the media with exaggeration. Because even when you exaggerate, you must first exaggerate what is there in the first place.
There's something called a hyperbole, deliberate exaggeration of facts. The
Yes.
key word is facts, yes.
You cannot exaggerate what doesn't exist. We take responsibility for creating that perception. But also, I think fighting it out is not a bad thing anyway, if that is what people want it to be. Because there's also what you call sibling rivalry. You are you are in the same home, and then you have rivalry. So you can only say time will tell. I will be the first to plead guilty because I have also provided a platform where these kind of rivalries have been expressed. Many times, I have been at the receiving end of those vicious attacks.
You've also given a fair share of them.
My weapons are only defensive weapons. I don't have any offensive weapon. Whatever you could say, unleashed any attack on anybody who has not attacked me first, unless you name one. If you name one person who have attacked, who has not attacked me, who has not been behind an attack on me.
The center number guy.
Pardon?
The center number guy.
First and foremost, we have been under a lot of attack as an old party. You remember our headquarters was once attacked by people who came singing that they want Bobby Wine and not Mao. And I was wondering why they don't sing it at State House in Entebbe, because I'm not the one in power. So I asked myself, why would you come to DP headquarters to sing about somebody who is not a member of DP? In any case, we have been working together. We have offered a platform to a person we viewed as one who has become a magnet to get the youth to abandon their apathy, so that we can probably close that gap of 2 to 3 million, but we would overcome thinking, saying, join people power. So I said, we are all people power. We believe in people power. And so we don't have to join it. We believed that we were co-creators of people power. So in return, in exchange for that attack, I had to tell Ugandans my perception of what a pressure group is. And I think it was fair comment. It may have been exaggerated. I see the cartoons. The other day, somebody posted on social media that Norbert Mao has now been left alone, and he's only now with the Honorable Mukasa Ambide's eyebrows.
Okay.
So,
yes.
but seriously, I don't support anybody from my party who would do such a thing. First of all, we are in a multi-party dispensation.
Yes.
Unless we have the will to collaborate, then we have got each to follow their own lane. But there is no need for... We don't have a political party called opposition. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
Just like Uganda Cranes is not a football team or a football club. It is a team for Uganda. So we were thinking of building a team of teams, after which we choose the team captain. What we perceived as an attempt to present a fait accompli is something that the fait accompli was being promoted even actively within our own party. I'll have more time to reflect more about this. But I hope I have persuaded you that I have never attacked anybody when unprovoked.
I think that all the viewers appreciate what you call linguistic versatility, and they'll make their own judgments in regard to your fate. Flavia, the attacks at City House, the attacks on Dr.
Not
Besigye.
City House, it was
Balintuma. Okay, the attacks on Balintuma Road, headquarters of the DP, the attacks on Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye as he exited CBS radio station, the attacks on what is supposed to be friendly forces in the opposition has led commentators to describe you as the arrogant young kid in politics. Let's talk about that.
Thank you so much, Sabiti. I think perceptions by people are their own perceptions. We do very little to shape those perceptions, but also as NUP, we try very hard, by the way, to be, for lack of a better word, disciplined or peace-loving Ugandans. because we recognize and realize that the future of Uganda lies with people-centered organizing. And also it lies with us working together, with collaborating. Time and again, Honorable Kyagulanyi has stated it, just like Kizza Besigye has also stated it, and other leaders, that no one is going to take Uganda to the next step alone. We have to work together. But unfortunately, with opposition, what I have seen is every time you come out to give a message and to present your true picture as people who are disciplined, who are peace-loving Ugandans, and who just want change, but by the way, not violently, but through peaceful means. Whenever we try to access all forms of strategies and all forms of activities, events, ways of getting to this and getting our message out there, the security agents always do the opposite role.
Let's first answer this particular question about people associated with you attacking what is supposed to be friendly forces in the opposition. It was not police that raided Dr. Besigye's vehicle as he left CBS. It wasn't police at Balintuma. It is not police that is constantly insulting leaders, respected leaders in the opposition on social media. Let's first deal with that question.
But also, Sabiti, you bringing out that question, it's as if you're saying it was people from NUP that did that. And I will tell you that NUP stroke people power is amorphous. And we don't have ownership of every person that does anything wrong. The people that NUP will come out and condemn are people like Flavia, people like the leaders we know and the party supporters that we know. That is when we shall come out and say, so-and-so did ABCD, and we apologize for that. But if any Ugandan, and we have seen it time and again, that sometimes Ugandans from different parties dress up like us, sometimes they hurl words, insulting words at each other like us, but as the leadership, we have time and again come out to condemn the language used, to condemn violence acts, but also to tell our supporters and our followers that these are the values we believe in as NUP. So I will apologize if those were NUP guys that did that, because seriously speaking, I don't have the evidence to say that these were NUP guys.
By the way, to be fair, at that time there was no NUP.
It was even people power.
No. The people power kept that she wears bears responsibility for that action. So I'm putting a very fair question to her.
And I understand, and I actually take that question very seriously, because I have told you that time and again we have seen this beret is not tied to anyone's head, and not only to the leaders. Anyone can get this beret. Just recently we have seen even NRM people wearing this beret.
Flavia, that if I wear that hat and I attack Dr. Besigye's car, and the next day I'm seen next to the principal of the People Power movement, that raises questions.
Of course,
as the case
that
it
would raise
was at
questions.
CBS,
And from time again, we have told you that if we have such cases, and you know these people, bring them to us. As People Power, we are organizing ourselves. What we have put in place currently, and not just currently, but right now we have a disciplinary and reconciliation committee that looks at such cases because of so many reports that kept coming up. And we said, okay, hey, if these people get these people in these actions, if there is evidence against them, can you bring them to us? Then can we deal with them? And there are some cases that we are seriously dealing with, because the issue of discipline and indiscipline is something that we take very highly, and we don't want our supporters being indisciplined. But at the same time, we have also set up different rules. We are currently concluding our code of conduct to ensure that this information is out there to all our supporters, and to everyone that knows that if I affiliate and if I am saying I am NUP, I am People Power, this is what has to happen. And if I don't abide by this, then there are repercussions. You're going to be dealt with in certain ways. So we are organizing because, like we told you, it was a wave that so many people said it was a wave. It was a thoughtful idea that came from a few people, and it kept on metamorphosing. And right now we are at a part where we are organizing for this country. We are trying to reshape the perceptions of Ugandans towards us and telling them that, hey, not everyone is like that. There are even incidences where we have been directly provoked into violence, but we have always, as leaders, we have told our supporters, do not retaliate, because that is not the core issue, the core business of us as NUP in Uganda. Our business is to ensure that we get change of government in a peaceful way.
Okay.
And through dialogue.
All right. Honorable Amuriat, you've been quoted in the media a couple of times. For you, the picture looks like you are either in FDC or we have no business with you. when you sit at Najjanankumbi, the idea of working together as an opposition without necessarily joining FDC, does it ever surface in your minds?
Before I answer that question, I would like just to comment on what the direction the conversation has taken in respect to how different political parties in the opposition deal with each other. And it's true that, and quite disappointing, that it would appear to me like we are fighting for the same space. The space that we, over the years, carved out, through blood and sweat, from Mr. Museveni and his NRM. Not an easy fight. We managed to acquire that space. Every space that the opposition stands on today was not just given. It was fought for. And so if I have to describe the opposition today, we look like insects, for lack of proper insect name. I want to say we look like senene put in a bottle by a captor.
And the bigger senene is blue.
Yes, we are biting each other.
And the bigger one is
without
blue,
asking a question, who actually put us in that bottle to begin with. And I think that the moment we wake up and realize that we have to keep our eye on the ball, because for us, we will not stop from keeping our eyes on the ball. Regardless of the insults that are hurled on us, regardless of the attacks by media, and I want to compliment Honorable Mao's point when he said you people have also done a disservice to us without really interrogating a defection. You are saying, FDC has collapsed because 15 members of parliament have have left the party.
It's a fact that MPs have crossed.
Well,
it's a statement of fact.
Does that signify a collapse of a party?
I was shocked. I was shocked. If you can just take this, is there an element of fact in what the media is saying? Because we've seen considerable number of MPs leaving the FDC. Is that a fact?
Look here, they even named them.
If you are very sick, are you dead?
They even named them. For example, the Honorable Oyet,
yes,
the Honorable Regan Okumu are all named, including independents who left FDC long ago.
No, but
Honorable
Amriat, just with
all I am saying,
no, with fairness to the media, you have a number of MPs from the FDC who have exited. That's a statement of fact. So sometimes sitting on this side, I think that you should take responsibility for those and deal with that.
So what does a defection signify? For us, we have leaders, all right, but the leaders come from the people. The base of the FDC is not the leaders. It's the grassroots support. And so what you in the media should be interrogating is what this leader is walking away with. That is the kind of journalism that the Wafula Gutus used to do. Today, you see so many people leaving the Democratic Party, going somewhere else, and you say DP Mao is dead.
It's true.
Two-thirds
of our MPs left.
And so you won't blame the media for saying that.
So when you still have a third of life in parliament, are you dead?
Let's take a break. Let's take a break. When we come back, you'll have the time to actually conclude your thoughts. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at a Besigye-less ballot. Not that he said he's getting out of the equation, but he will not be on the ballot. What does that mean for the opposition and especially the Forum for Democratic Change? All that after the break.
NBS Frontline.
We are still here. we are still here. Still here to cater to you. Still here to make your day special. To facilitate your business and make you feel at home away from home. Miss Teal, where the heart is.
Tap into the convenience of ABSA contactless cards, another innovation that's turning banking on its head. Now, you can make fast, easy, and safe contactless payments for everyday items. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Have you ever wondered how you conduct business online? Make that call to a friend. Watch TV with family. And even check in on your security, all in a blink of an eye. Soliton Telmec is one of the reasons this is possible. We are the #1 network telecommunications engineering company in East Africa. Telecom network planning and design, OTDRs and splicing machines, network development, mast construction, backbone. We are the leading providers of fiber optic networks, making life better by staying connected. Soliton Telmec, building networks for life. As Uganda goes to the polls in 2021, Mebo Twegunyezake, news anchor, will be reporting live from the Political Command Center. NBS. Always.
I can't turn back time, but I can choose how to live my life. With the new Movit Relaxer Cream, I get to wear my hair just like I live my life. The newly improved Movit Relaxer has a moisture lock ingredient that guarantees stronger, longer, healthy hair. So beat the stereotypes with the new Movit Relaxer. Go naturally curly, bouncy, or straight. Don't be ordinary, be extraordinary. Movit Relaxer's impact on black hair is dazzling. So get moving with Movit. You'll definitely stand out. Movit, all day confidence.
NBS Frontline.
All right, welcome back to NBS Frontline. Honorable Norbert Mao, Honorable Engineer Patrick Amuriat-Oboi, and Flavia Kalule from the People Power Movement. We're looking at the events of the week. And by the time we took the break, the Honorable Amuriat-Oboi was making his conclusions. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, I think that the moment the opposition parties realize that they must pull in one direction, that will be the point at which we will gain traction, the point at which we will decisively deal with the dictator. I know all of us try to look for support and we recruit. But, you know, if I'm taking from DP,
like you have done,
it shouldn't be a reason for us to celebrate, you know, the whole day. We shouldn't. If General Muntu is living with a section of our leaders and going to form a new political group, there shouldn't be celebration. The celebration should occur the moment we are recruiting from the NRM and winning them over to our side. Now, in as far as political dialogue and negotiation, you know, with a view to coalesce is concerned, the FDC has always been on the front line of this. Only that certain times we get disappointed. Our history tells it all. I am happy that during reform agenda, all the forces of change did coalesce around a single presidential candidate. At the time, political parties were in abeyance, and this was Dr. Kizza Besigye. Before that, there was IPFC, of Dr. Paul Semugere, which some of us played a role in. You know, in my region, I coordinated the operations of Dr. Kizza Besigye in 1996 elections. Now, and, you know, worked, I beg your pardon, Dr. Paul Semugere, working closely with Professor Ogenga Latigo, who was actually in charge of the entire region of the North and the Northeast. Now, in recent times, there have been attempts at coalescing. The IPC is something that all of us know about. It collapsed. I'm not accusing my brother from the Democratic Party. Maybe at the time he wasn't involved. Tents were set up in Kololo for signature to be put on paper. This never happened. He chickened out.
He found an
His predecessor.
Was a no-show on the advice of the legal advisor, who is now the newest addition to FDC.
You know, Honorable Mao can be cheeky at times.
for the record, he says on the advice of the Honorable Arias.
Well, granted, I think that those are historical facts that we can't run away from.
Yes.
And then recently in the TDA,
where you came and pulled out Dr. Besigye and ran away with
such things. We said, no, we are not going to be fooled by what is going on in the TDA. And indeed, time has proved us right. Because some of the characters who were being fronted, Mbabazi Amama, the former prime minister, has gone back to the fold.
Okay.
Betty Kamia was one of the people really advancing the cause of a single candidate, gone back. I saw Professor Bukenya there running to 10 Chadondo to pick forms to run in Busiro. What Busiro is his?
South.
Busiro South. North. Busiro North. He's back in the NRM. Now, what I am driving at is for proper coalitions to happen. For us in the FDC, we have three considerations. The first consideration is what the person brings on the table, or that organization as such. The second consideration is what interests do they have in a coalition? You say, do they think they should be the leader of the coalition? That has to be stated very clearly. And then, thirdly, we have to consider in which direction they would like to take the coalition.
Okay.
So, those three put on the table and reviewed, and really the fourth one is about whether the coalition partner can be trusted. And I have given the example of Gilbert Bukenya and Betty Kamia.
Okay.
And the other people who decided to go back to the NRM.
Okay, fair enough. We were going into an election, and one of the significant changes has been the decision by retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye not to be on the ballot. He says he's still in the struggle, if I quote him right, but he will not be a candidate. Flavia, your principal, your party on the record said they want to fight for us, but they don't want us to fight for ourselves. They say they don't believe in an election, but they participate. In fact, all these things that were said against Colonel Besigye, how did the NUP receive the news of his decision not to run as a candidate?
Thank you so much, Sabiti. How did NUP receive this news? First of all, we want to really applaud Dr. Kizza Besigye for his contribution to this nation's struggle, especially towards proper democratic governance, towards civic citizen participation. He has done a lot of work rallying citizens and mobilizing citizens to really take back power for themselves, to understand the meaning of people power, to know the value of their vote and what it costs when it is non-cast. And so we really, really applaud Dr. Kizza Besigye for all his efforts in the change of this country. How did we take this news? I would say bittersweet. Of course, it's bittersweet because this is an icon, and we haven't been shy about saying that he's one of the mentors of so many change-seeking agents in Uganda, including our very own principal, Honorable Kyagulanyi, the party president. A number of times he has said that he's one of the people that really inspired me to get into politics, and he's one of his mentors. But also to some of us, especially for the women that are still very shy and fearful about engaging in politics, I think this is a man that you'd look at and say, hey, this guy is taking in too much, because all the state violence was thrown his side, but he endured it. He held his ground. He was so resolved, firmly resolved in his convictions. So it's bitter because this is a kind of person we would have wanted to move with, moving on and on and on, because we have been engaging him in different platforms. But it's also good.
Is that true that you would have wanted Dr. Besigye on the ballot as people power, but based on the statements that have been said about him, based on all the way he has been treated by people associated with you?
Of course, you will say based on those statements. And I'll again tell you that we are not responsible for all the statements that are made by all
including
our supporters.
Those of your leader, including that of your principal?
Our principal has always sought for dialogue and to resolve and to have a unified front. That is why you saw us in Wakiso when we are bringing forth the United Forces of Change, because we have always wanted to move together. We cannot downplay
Let's first go back to Makerere University.
Yeah.
There was that reunion that was organized by the Honorable Norbert Mao right in front of you. Do you remember the statements made there? I know you were there.
Let me tell you something, Sabiti. You will not pin us by the past. You will have to see our actions by how we progress.
Do you remember those statements,
forward.
Flavia? Let's start from there. Do you remember those statements? The camera is there, look into it and say the truth. Do you remember them?
First of all, I was not at the DP reunion of Makerere University.
Did you listen or watch what was said?
But I listened in, and I heard the statements.
Yes.
I heard the statements. But I will tell you again, Sabiti, that we shall not... People have always made statements. All these people here on this platform have made statements.
No, let's first address the one that you have control over, the one in your backyard.
Now, the question is, Sabiti,
yes.
How did we take this news? And I'm trying to give you how we reacted to it, because ideally, this is what we wanted. We want a united front for Ugandans. Well, we have to acknowledge that our principal is going to be on the ballot, and that is what we are telling them. But we are telling them, can we have all change-seeking forces working together to get us to where we want? And I think for me, Dr. Kizza Besigye has been an icon and a pillar in getting us to where we are right now. We have to acknowledge that as a country, we are moving at a very fast pace. And as a country, we have the demography of young people that is high, and most of them have picked up new interests and new people to support, and we cannot, we cannot ignore that fact. But also we have to understand that as a country, the country is ready for change in all aspects. If we have been people who have been supporting and engaging with so many other people, and now there's someone new that has come up, maybe that is also time for someone else to lead the mantle, but not to say that the other person should not work with this person. That is why for us we are happy.
Was NUP asking Dr. Kizza Besigye to retire from leading the opposition?
No.
For the record.
For the record, NUP never asked Dr. Kizza Besigye to retire. NUP asked Dr. Kizza Besigye to work with it so that we could move into a new era, a new generation, of course, together, not step aside and we come. Other people may have insinuated that, but NUP never came out to say that, because our principal is one of the people that is highly interested in working together with Dr. Kizza Besigye. So, taking me back to my point, I think he's stepping aside, and I am very happy that he's stepping aside, because it is creating space, but also showing the statesmanship that we all yearn for in this country.
Okay.
For leaders to be able to move positions or organizations from one step to another step, but also to know when to say, this is it. This is the time. Let another generation, let another person hold the flag. Why? Because we have a problem in this country of leaders who just want to stay in positions. And I've seen this not only with the top leaders of different political parties, but even in smaller spaces, in constituencies, in small spaces like local government councils, leaders who do not have a culture of grooming and mentoring other leaders. And NGOs, yes, you're very right. Mentoring and grooming other leaders to take up position, to take over leadership after them. So I think what he's doing, one, is sending a statement that you can't do it all. You reach a point where you have to say, I think another person has to come in. And I think for me, acknowledging that particular time T is very important, because if you read it, misread it, or if you miss that point, then you may be the person that is going to be thrown out like the Mali president that we saw climbing over walls and others. So I think it was good. I think it's good that there's a culture of continuity, that if he steps aside and there's someone else, but also it's not about stepping aside. It's about what you're continuing to do and your contribution towards the cause, even as when you're not in the leadership position, because people need to know that leadership is not about positions. It's about engaging in your various spaces and influencing people from wherever you are. And I think for me, I was greatly moved by that decision, and I am happy we welcome him as a new P. We know we are going to continue working together because he is also a very wise person, and we still need his sage counsel because we cannot move this country forward without him. I was reading Honorable Miriam Matembe's book, The Struggle for Freedom. And I think I was reading how Dr. Kizza Besigye came into the picture when he came out to confess to them that he wanted to contest against President Museveni for the very first time. And they were all shocked. And Miriam Matembe says in there, what shocked them really was not that he was going to contest, but it was the fact that this was a tribe mate or a person from their Western group that was coming in to contest against one of their own. And for her, she says that in the book, Kebbi kept telling them, that is Kizza Besigye, kept telling them, the person that is leading this country is not the right person, because for him, he had seen him, what he would lead us to. And I think for me, going back into this history and hearing his speech as he was giving it yesterday, it gave a new angle to Uganda's politics. And for anyone that is interested in changing the course of leadership and politics in this country, I think we need to reflect so much on his words, because they give us courage, but also they give us the wisdom and hope to know that Uganda doesn't have one person doing everything.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Amory Atoboy, this move appears to have caught you in particular and the FDC structures off guard. Am I totally wrong to say that?
Absolutely wrong. You are not right. And let me spend some time to explain myself on this point. I am a founder member of the FDC, and I have been in the FDC so long as it has existed. Of course, coming from powerful and reform agenda. Dr. Kizza Besigye, in 2016, did not want to offer himself for elective office. He had had enough of nonsensical elections, and he wanted to concentrate on the struggle. Insiders within the FDC know that Dr. Kizza Besigye left the leadership of the party in 2012, leaving 3 years of his term to be served by General Muntu, who then took 5 years. We all know within the FDC that it took a lot of force to get Dr. Kizza Besigye on the ballot paper.
You're beginning to sound like those who forced President Museveni to be on the ballot.
The young men said, no, you are not going anywhere. Of course, you saw what happened yesterday in Najanankumbi. It wasn't very different from what happened at the time.
Not very different from what happens in the NRM as well.
Well, the NRM,
they always keep
what
the
happens in the
president
NRM.
at ransom. Yes.
Even the man himself comes and says, I want it. He's not very shy about it. He knows it is his personal property.
He gives the same explanation.
That is a position
that people are actually holding him at ransom. Exactly what you're explaining now.
No, that is just making fun of the Ugandan public and trying to fool them.
They would say this. They would accuse
that kind
you
of
the
foolery
same.
will not be accepted.
They would accuse you of the same.
We know Museveni's intent and purpose. He wants to cling on power. That is him. It is his DNA. Dr. Kizza Besigye is completely different. Immediately after the election of 2016, he said to us, leaders, after coming from Luzira prison, he said, I am not going to run in the election of 2021. Begin preparing a leader. Now, at the time, I was not part of the leadership of the FDC. And so probably, apart from being in NEC, I didn't have any other position. I was a member of the delegates conference. We thought he was joking. Then 2.5 years ago, I was already president then. We went to Choto in Namgongo. And he came with a document and brought it before us and said, if you think I am joking about this, I am actually now going to concentrate on the struggle. Now, it is then that it dawned to us that we needed to begin preparing people for leadership. And you know, the questions that begged at the time was, what are we going to do? How can we do without you? And he pointed us straight in the face, say, you think all these years I have been with you, so and so, so and so, you have learned nothing out of me? You should go run and lead this country. Such is the person that we are talking about. A person who is not greedy for power. Somebody who is prepared to mentor and grow. The person we are talking about is the forefather of defiance and the opposition political space today that we enjoy. Dr. Kizza Besigye is a man who bailed the cat. When everybody was afraid of the cat, he took that bell and put it around the neck of the cat. And now, wherever the cat passes, everybody knows he is coming. Unfortunately, his gentle nature and generosity has been abused, not only by the dictatorship in power, but also by other political players who seemingly are pulling in the same direction.
Do you want to make specific references?
No, it's for the public now to judge. It seemed like Dr. Kizza Besigye was occupying somebody's space. And so, you know, the narrative was he should move and allow others the opportunity. And poor man, he kept saying, look, I am in the struggle. I am not stopping anybody, you know, joining the struggle. If you really think you have a role to play in this struggle, come forward. Let's move together. This is not about positions. It's about getting the dictatorship out and putting a new political order in Uganda. And it was simple. And so I think that his going out has created a situation where the opposition, people who were clamoring for space within the opposition, are now challenged. Go for that election, win it. Because Dr. Kizza Besigye has been there 4 times
and lost.
Yes. Don't mind the fact that we've been winning all the way through.
You know, every time an FDC leader has said that, and I have said that there are precedents in our region. 2007, when Raila Odinga said, I have won the election, he bought, you know, space in the nation and published all his results across the country. I've hosted MPs here. Honorable Sewungu says he's still holding onto some of your DR forms. And so to say that you have won...
That is even criminal, actually. You better tell me where Sewungu is.
You know where to find him.
We want our forms.
But the point is that you cannot just come with...
show us where Sewungu is, because we want our forms. He's possessing them illegally.
The point is that you cannot just come and expect me to believe your word that you won an election. I want at least something as tangible as possible for you to show that you won.
Of what effect would it be? If you published it in your newspaper tomorrow, the newspaper would be closed. I'm telling you this. You seem not to understand the dictator that you are dealing with.
At least try.
You don't seem to understand the dictator. It will never be published. If we brought it here,
did you try?
King Kalisa will say, no, take away your papers.
Did you at least try?
Why should we waste time to do that? Will that remove the dictator? We should have made our case in court. But by the time when Dr. Kizza Besigye should have done that, he was held in his house.
He was on record having said he would not return to the court. Again, that's a contradiction, sir.
Well, he would go to court.
No, he had said he would not return to that court. It's on public record.
Well, it could have changed this time because we have overwhelming evidence.
Okay.
By the way, a presidential candidate is not a candidate on his own. And the Honorable knows this, he has participated. Once you pick the forms to run using the flag of a political party, then you are the property of that political party. And you have got to act in accordance with the interests of that political party. So, for us in the FDC, Dr. Kizza Besigye has and continues to be a valuable asset. The public needs to know that he's not out of this fight. He has engaged another gear. You heard the proclamation being made yesterday. The election of 2021 is going to be run on 2 platforms for the FDC. The first platform will be the electoral platform. And that is our plan A. The other platform is going to be the struggle platform.
What is new between those two?
And that is plan B.
What's the new?
A lot of things. We are going to have 2 leaders for the different platforms. That is one thing that is different from what it used to be in the past.
What did it used to be?
Just one person. You know, we had Dr. Kizza Besigye canvassing for votes, running around the country together with the team, and at the same time thinking about the defiance and what we now call Plan B. This time it's going to be either Birigwa Poa or another person who has picked the forms, while Dr. Kizza Besigye concentrates on Plan B. Okay. And I want to define Plan B at this point.
Okay, just so
you know, a lot of questions are being asked about
No, I'm going to ask a particular questions about that. I wanted just to pick Honorable Norbert Mao's view on the decision of Dr. Besigye to opt out of the polls. You are one of the people who has been seen as not very, I'm trying to find a correct word, not very in tandem with the works and methods and operations of Colonel Besigye. How did you receive the news of his decision not to run for president?
What we witnessed at the Najja Nkumbi farewell speech, in quotes. No, I said in quotes.
Farewell is for somebody who is departing.
I mean, farewell from the ballot. The presidential ballot in 2021 was a speech by a political giant, an icon, somebody who has with determination tried to wrest power from the hands of his old comrade. Those who are writing Colonel Besigye's political obituary are fools. He's still very much on the scene. And if I'm to read between the lines of Honorable Amuriat's statement, Colonel Besigye is going to be looming large on the political scene going forward. He is going to be very active. You don't have to have your face on the ballot paper for you to campaign. Barack Obama is not a presidential candidate, but he's all over the place in America. In fact, his barbs, I'm sure, sting Trump even more than Biden's barbs. So, I believe Colonel Besigye has looked at the political terrain and considered the strategy he has been using, and I think he has concluded that it is not giving him the effect or the results that he has been expecting. Therefore, he has decided that he is now going to be operating outside the rules of a candidate. Within the laws and by his own statements, non-violently, but he will be moving in what in Kamocha is called the rubber-dubber style. I think that is what the plan B is going to be. I first met Kano Besigye in 1990. I was a student leader, president of Makerere Students Guild. And at that time, we used to have that team from the bush coming to Makerere to teach us political economy, basically the laws of motion of society.
Newton's laws.
Well, which obviously those laws cannot be broken. And the third law, obviously, as a proper scientist, is the one that is the most effective in politics. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. So, oppression grooms liberators. It is natural. Even in the study of animals, animals adapt. I don't think the chameleons were born with a natural camouflage, but they don't have speed, they can't run, they can't fight, so they must only blend with their environment. So adaptability. Even those who went to the bush in 81, they were a product of conditions created by those who were in government. Now, we formed something called the Uganda Anti-Apartheid Movement. At that time, as young people, and of course, you know, the policy of the Uganda government has always been to be in solidarity with all those who are fighting for liberation. Some of us even thought we were going to end up having to get machine guns and be deployed in South Africa to fight. So we formed that movement, and we elected Kano Besigye to be our chairman. In fact, when Nelson Mandela made his first visit to Uganda, on his schedule was a meeting with our organization. Kano Besigye was absent. I had the honor of leading the delegation and receiving Nelson Mandela on his behalf. Kano Kiza Besigye, as a public persona, which everybody knows, but he also has a private personality that people need to know. He has also grown through the struggle. The Kano Besigye of 2020 is not the Kano Besigye of 2001. He's definitely not the Kano Besigye of 2006, and not even the one of 2016. I think he has
Probably wiser. No, over the
definitely
years,
in terms of the unquenchable fire to resist oppression, he is the same. But in terms of determining that this is a hill, this is the proper gear, this is a slope, this is the proper gear, that is very important. And the evidence I have is that
I think that his sense of judgment is still superb.
That he could even consider a mediated conversation with the President Museveni. To me, that is a sign of growth. We all know that.
Honorable Mao, I just wanted a quick interjection there. Sorry. You speak so profoundly of a man that over the years, you never ever stood and rallied behind.
I'll tell it to you straight. We have had a love-hate relationship because I felt that from where I was sitting in DP, I thought FDC and his leadership was practicing political cannibalism, which now we are accusing Flavia's party of.
Okay.
Political cannibalism does not threaten the dictatorship. Because if you are eating your own kind, don't you know that even a predator can also have a predator? So, you can be a predator on another person, but there's also your own predator also. And I have evidence for my conclusions and suspicions. I felt first and foremost that they were manufacturing very unfair smear campaigns. The most famous being that my former wife worked in State House.
You blame that on FDC?
They were the fountain of that. One day I met the Honorable Wafula Ogutu. I said, please tell me now, why is your social media team saying this? So I felt personally pained. Of course,
you couldn't have blamed that on Dr. Besigye, though, as a person.
You see, you have just been reasoning like me when you are referring to Flavia. Have you now changed?
No, mine is to ask a question.
Have you now? I mean, I want you to be consistent in your. Yes.
So he needs
All right, fair enough.
Then
yes.
the other thing is when they welcomed a faction of DP that had formed itself into a group known as Subi, and they had a joint front. These were DP members, but they had another understanding with the then, what they call the inter-party cooperation. I remember complaining, and I said, look, why don't you, the same complaint I gave to the Kamocha group. I said, if people from DP come to you, why don't you send them back and say, you belong to an address. Do you want us to be seen as cannibalizing those people?
I'm interested in...
And I'm very happy that
Yes.
when they went there, they were told in no certain terms, you're either NUP or back to your headquarters, or you operate from anywhere else you choose. To me, that was a very principled decision. To say, don't come here to camouflage yourself. We are not a rain shelter. So that was one thing. The other thing, of course, is that eventually the waves of politics can overtake. You remember IPC also collapsed. For us, we chose not to join IPC. So no one can say we became part of it and created problems for it. We took a decision, communicated it, and we were condemned for it, and we swallowed our condemnation. But when you find that the IPC candidate for Lord Mayor was Michael Mabike, who was abandoned for the current Lord Mayor, I don't know how Ambassador Otunu abandoned the IPC. And so I think those are some of the things that terrified us. And by the way, as DP, we also played an important role, particularly our own icon, Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogerere, who actually worked very hard to mobilize the DP base. As the Honorable Patrick Amuriat would now say, he said, whatever space was built by somebody. When our leaders of DP were in the so-called broad-based government, it was Cecilia Ogwal and her small group roaring. Fortunately, at that time, you were very close to the Uganda People's Congress.
He was cannibalized.
He wasn't cannibalized. He was an authentic member of the resistance against NRA. By the way, NRM, most of North and East learned about it later. We never knew anything called NRM. I think NRM never went to the North and East. It went probably after 10 years. We knew NRA. So we knew we were facing not a political organization, but a conquering army. That was the attitude we had. Okay. So Cecilia Ogwal created some space. Thereafter, they formed the IPFC. There was no cannibalism at all. Courtesy of the cooperation, the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal and UPCs could go and talk in Luwero, where they had been blacklisted. And Dr. Semogerere, who had been walloped badly by the UPC machine in the north and east, now got the highest votes from the north and east, unlike his own backyard here, where he was, thanks to the propaganda machinery of the NRM, accused of being a Trojan horse for Milton Obote and Joseph Kony. So that space was created. So Kano Besigye also found a space which had been carved. And he has also struggled. I think Dr. Semogerere had about 1.7 million votes. Kano Besigye has expanded it to close to 3 million, at least from the official results.
Okay.
Now, all those are footholds that we should build on.
Okay. Honorable Ma, we're due for a break. When I come back, I would definitely want to listen to what response you got when you discussed these issues with the FDC. We'll also be talking about Engineer Amuriat Oboi's presidential bid. Flavia, I have a lot of questions for you in regard to what actually, she was mentioning values, our values, and as NUP, these are some of the most sought after things.
She said bittersweet.
No,
because where she comes from, they have been seeing Kano Besigye as an eclipse. So now, the eclipse has been clear.
Let's have that conversation after the break.
So you can now see clearly.
NBS Frontline.
We are still here. Still here to welcome you. We are still here. Still here to cater to you. Still here to make your day special. To facilitate your business and make you feel at home away from home. Miss Teal, where the heart is.
As Uganda goes to the polls in 2021, Sheila Nduwachire, news anchor, will be reporting live from the Political Command Center. NBS. Always. The Champions League season is reaching a new peak. Are you ready for the ride? Europe's finest football clubs are about to experience unrivaled acceleration. And DSTV gives you the best seat in the house. It's the thrilling rush to the UEFA Champions League final with 11 games in 16 days. Upgrade to DSTV Compact Plus to experience every heart-stopping moment. Standing for office, it is that season again. The elections are forthcoming and you need to reach out to your electorate. We at Next Media know that with the campaigns being scientific, you're probably worried about how to approach everything. Come to the Political Command Center today and let's get you sorted. Through our platforms and over 40 media partners across Uganda, we can get you to all your potential voters in an instant. Call 0707-730-641 to book your slot today. NBS, your Political Command Center. As Uganda goes to the polls in 2021, Sam Ibanda Mugabe, senior parliamentary reporter and show producer, will be reporting live from the Political Command Center. NBS Frontline.
All right, welcome back to NBS Frontline. The hashtag on Twitter is NBS Frontline. Keep the questions and comments coming. We're also keeping a keen eye, by the way, on the developments at plot 13 at Chadon Road. We'll be getting confirmation in regard to what exactly is happening there, in regard to the final declarations. The images on screen are live from plot 13 Chadon Road. We'll be going there shortly. For now, let's continue the conversation on the Frontline with Flavia Kalule, Honorable Patrick Amuria Toboy, and the Honorable Norbert Mao. Honorable Mao, by the time we took the break, I was interested in knowing the response of the FDC. Did you raise these issues, these concerns that you had about their conduct, and what did you get from them?
Actually, when General Muntu became president of FDC, they visited all political parties. And I spoke from my heart, and I said, look, this cannibalism is going to... You see, in the animal kingdom, even lions don't eat all the animals because they must allow those adults to produce, so that it is in their own interest not to finish the stock of animals. That does not just apply to the opposition. It also applies to a party in government. When a party in government also cannibalizes the system too much, it also has a backfire. Later, we built a better relationship. And the product of that good relationship was Honorable Lucy Akello in Amoro. Remember, when the Honorable Betty Bigombe resigned, in fact, that is the proper model of how cooperation is supposed to be. I sat with the Honorable Olaro Tuno and the General Muntu, and we said all our parties have candidates. But if we all go to the field, we are going to be beaten. Let's agree on a process of selecting one candidate. And all of them had strengths and weaknesses. We managed to pull that off, agreed on one candidate. By the way, if the principals agree on a candidate, there will be very little resistance. The problem is if the principals pretend to agree, and then some of them go behind the other principals and start supporting other candidates. In this case, we were all united. President Amuriat, you were there in that campaign at in Amoro.
Okay.
You saw the spirit of total harmony. Of course, when your candidate is not the selected one, you are the one now to break the bad news. So you end up having to give counseling to your candidate, saying, look at the bigger picture and so on. And
okay.
So we delivered that victory and brought a very good MP to the House because we put the bigger picture in front. So,
again, even with all that, the relationship between the FDC and the DP, at least the ones we see, is not a very good one.
Mainly because of the battle for Kampala, which we thought was our turf. You know, there are tough wars everywhere. Even in homes, you can have tough wars. So we had a tough war over Kampala, where basically we thought the key had wiped out the whole in Kampala. It was very devastating for us, and it left a bad taste in our mouth. It is natural. And so, based on that, we felt like, you know, this friendly fire is now becoming unfriendly. Okay. So, these are the realities which we have got to talk about now. But the truth of the matter is the DP has been feeling that, you know, okay, we have been the main challengers to the status quo, always. We handed over. Personally, I'm very suspicious of soldiers, I have to confess. My father is a soldier. Okay. I have to say that is my...
It explains the lukewarm approach.
Yeah, that is my other bias.
Yes.
I always say, because the candidature which was based on This is somebody who is in combat, he's a soldier, he's a hammer, he's going to deal with the quarter pin. And actually, after his announcement, I remember visiting him at his home, which was then in Luzira. And I said, no, I don't think you are the one who should do this. When I was asked, I said, you don't need a Goliath to fight a Goliath. Let's bring somebody who is totally different. Those are statements I made. I own them. Okay. But they do not lessen my respect for Kano Besigye and his contribution. Okay. I don't think the last chapter of his politics can be written. People have always come back. I remember Nixon one time called what he called the last press conference. He said, I'm tired of people blaming me of this and this. And I think what Kano Besigye has done is also a reaction to all the statements that have been made. Some of them in platforms I have hosted. I also take responsibility for that, seeing him as the eclipse. I think he reached a point when he now became like that woman in King Solomon's court, and he says, if you want to split the struggle, let them have the struggle. Those who believe it belongs to them, but don't destroy the struggle.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable Amory Atomboye, it's been quite a lengthy one from Norbert Mao, but I thought that it was important for you to take that in as the leader of the FDC. Let's talk about those issues that the Honorable Mao raises as the cause of conflict between the party that you lead and the Democratic Party.
Well, we have cooperated with the Democratic Party. I think all of us have seen and come short of the glory because we have failed in one way or another try to sustain that cooperation. I do remember, talking about the Buganda area, a gentleman's agreement or a gentleperson's agreement between the Democratic Party and the FDC, that the DP was better positioned to win for the opposition, the Buganda area. And we said, have it, run away with it. And the DP ran away with it, with devastating results. Actually, we found that the NRM instead took over Buganda and to date continues to rule Buganda in terms of the number of legislators that the NRM posts in the House from Buganda. There are almost 90 constituencies here. The opposition is very thin. The other thing that needs to be said, and this is what we would call trust or lack of it, is an agreement, a gentleman's or a gentleperson's agreement between the FDC and the Democratic Party, and the UPC oversits in Yala. We recognize that the DP and the UPC were in the House, and we are not getting a fair share of positions in the East African Legislative Assembly. NRM took the entire 7, FDC had 2. So really considering that these were key players with us in the opposition, we felt there was a need for NRM to cede some space. And indeed, we negotiated with John Patrick Amama Mbabazi, the then Prime Minister, to have 2 positions given from the NRM 7 to the UPC 1 and to the Democratic Party 1. We thought it was fair. We didn't know that the then Secretary General, and I don't know whether the Honorable Mao was involved in this.
The President always takes responsibility.
The late Matthias.
I was going to ask where we are going to find the souls of those who are arresting to respond to the things you say about them. But the chairman has taken responsibility.
Yes, I will maybe have to explain to the country. Yeah. The late Nsubuga came and signed an MOU with the FDC. Little did we know that there were behind-the-scenes talks between the UPC and the DP to nominate candidates. The idea was, let us not go and nominate. All of us. It would not have been possible for the NRM to take only NRM members of the Legislative Assembly because they needed to be complete. There needed to be a reflection of the shades of opinion, political opinion in the House. So Honorable Nsubuga, after signing up, decides to go and nominate. We were surprised to see the nomination taking place. And to date,
Is that the whole story, though? Because I remembered the court battles and how the incident involving the Honorable Fred Mukasambire, the disagreement with Honorable Mao. Are you selectively telling the truth in the case of the LRS?
Well, all we know is that we were shortcut, we were betrayed, out of our goodness. And so I think that these are lessons that we have to pick from to ensure that we, as people in the opposition, the political parties in the opposition, stop this thing of backstabbing. We have to be true to each other.
Okay. Let's talk about... Okay.
But I would like to just say something about Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Yes.
Our leader. And to say to whoever wants to know that he is going nowhere. He has always said to us that he will either finish the struggle or expire. So one of the two have to happen. So before he expires, and by expiry, I think he refers to, being unable, incapacitated, or even dead. Before that happens, he will continue being in the struggle.
Okay, I wanted to ask about...
He's been categorical, and I think the public also needs to know this, that he is going to be campaigning with the FDC. That has to be clear. I have had some people misrepresenting Dr. Kizza Besigye on television and radio stations about, which way he will be.
Okay.
He has a responsibility to the party. He's an official of the party by virtue of being an executive member, precisely the mobilizer for Rukungiri district. And so he owes it to us. So whoever is going to be on the ballot paper will expect the support, direct support of Dr. Kizza Besigye in the next election. He is not about to leave. He is going to feature in the politics of this country. He is going to influence.
He's not going to have a gentleman.
He's going to influence what happens in the political stage. And I think we're really very proud about him. He has not jumped ship. He continues to be a valuable asset to the FDC and to this country.
Honorable Amret Aboy, I find it fair when Honorable Mao says, in practice, you had become home to actually most of the DP rebels. Those who didn't find space and then it was City House before they moved to Balintuma, were very comfortable under the blue umbrella. The Lord Mayor of the city has never been to his party headquarters. He was comfortably housed. So you literally became the home of the errant members of other parties. Let's talk about that. You wouldn't be happy if someone did that.
I think that talking about the Lord Mayor, we need to be very careful.
It's just an example of the many others.
I do not know whether, Mr. Sabiti, you know that we have a people's government that was formed after the election of 2016.
No. Let's go back. If you can take this, the people's government was formed after 2016 elections. The political entanglement between the FDC and the Honorable Erias Lukwago is way older than that. Let's start from
Yes,
there.
I understand that very well.
Yes.
And this comes from the point that Dr. Kizza Besigye decided to leave the leadership of the FDC in 2012. And his reason was that, managing the party was tying him down, taking much of his time. He wanted to be out there free, engaging in activism. And true to his word, you saw all the campaigns that he initiated and ran, together with pro-change advocates. Matthias Mpuga is one of them now in NUP, very active in the FOC campaign. He was the head of that campaign. Erias Lukwago has been out there in the battlefield, not as FDC, but as an activist.
Do you think? Do you
His
think?
recent admission-
Honorable Power, do you think that it would have been proper to have that arrangement with the Democratic Party?
This was really free for everybody.
No. I am saying, in practice, in principle, is it fair to have had this conversation with the DP that we have this initiative and we want your members to join?
This was free for anybody to come in.
In principle.
And you know, it's very much like people power. You know, where everybody is invited. It's Katongo. You say so long as we are moving.
You accuse the media of certain things, but I followed very keenly your internal processes, the primary, the selection of the primary, in the primaries for parliamentary seats. And MPs who were seen as doing the political atoti this way, atoti that way, had a tough time. I know what happened.
Which primaries are you referring to, Mr.
The recent one. MPs who were not seen as loyal actually had issues to clear with their party branches and things like that. The FDC enforces a loyalty code, but is very comfortable entangling with other people from other parties.
That is a misrepresentation of the FDC.
No, they're facts.
You know,
I'm quoting
ours
facts.
is an equal opportunities organization.
I'm quoting facts.
It is, and I would like you to quote facts by giving the figures as well. If you are talking about MP Mbaju,
yes,
despite the shortcomings he had with the organization, with the FDC, he was given the opportunity to compete.
But after, as late as the deadline evening, he was looking for you on phone. I was at Najanakumbi. You had to clear. So,
yes,
So in principle,
I am the chief executive of the FDC.
In principle, the FDC plays by the strict loyalty code. You must be loyal to us. But you're comfortable with this kind of political entanglement with rebel members of the DP over the years and other parties.
You see, Elias Lukwago was a member of the Democratic Party.
A life member at that.
Yes.
Yes.
But he contested as an independent. You know that?
Absolutely.
Even as he sits in City Hall today, he is an independent. Now FDC, turned FDC. You know about that?
Absolutely.
And so, we saw no reason whatsoever to exclude a fighter from the fight where we needed fighters. I mean, it would be foolhardy to turn away.
Is someone only a fighter when they are playing by the dictates and the requirements of the FDC? How would you define fighters?
You know, the fight was being done outside the FDC. That is a very bad accusation leveled against my organization, and I'm not going to accept that.
No, the facts speak for themselves.
No.
As long as you're singing hallelujah to the blue bus, you're a fighter.
Dr. Kizza Besigye was out of the leadership. He ran campaigns, not as FDC. All activists who felt they had a role to play in the liberation of their country joined.
Honorable Paul, for a fact check, 2011, for a fact check, let's flash back 2011. Retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye is president of the FDC.
No.
True or false?
2011?
Yes. True or false?
True.
The Honorable Elias Lukwago runs in Kampala in 2011. True or false?
True.
So at what point do you say
he runs as what?
That's the point we're discussing, that he was a life member of DP. Yes, but you see, that's the point, yes. Under the Subi movement, that had runaway members of the Democratic Party and found comfort under the umbrella of the FDC.
Look, when you consider the Honorable Segona was in Subi, and that until recently, he was a member of the Democratic Party, that speaks volumes. When you know that my friend Mohamed Kivumbi was a member of Subi, and until recently was a member of the Democratic Party, you know, they are bosses here, they are former bosses here.
I can give
then you are going to really answer your own question. And
will allow me to give another example. I think Joseph's point is that if FDC is saying this is the line you don't cross,
and
for them they have a strong line you don't cross. So for them, they are not very tolerant of their members who are in the struggle with another leader.
Absolutely.
A good example is, of course, Beatrice Anywa. Beatrice Anywa was FDC in the election of 2011 to 2016. Then she actually goes and nominates Amama Mbabazi. I don't think FDC was pleased with that, saying this is the same struggle. We are on the same side. And I think these are the things that you are talking about trust. I also have another testimony. You know, I won't comment about Iyala, it will take too long. But you know, we agreed not to register for the national ID. And I was very faithful to that.
We are going to have a confession
to the extent that I never voted.
It's a confession night on front.
No, because for me, I like also to stick to what we have agreed. So we agreed that we are never going to go for that national ID. It is a project of UPDF intended to rig elections because that's the database going to be used. So I was at home and then I realized that actually I was the only one who was not going to vote. And the chief promoter of that decision ended up with a national ID. Later I asked General Muntu, I said, how did this happen? He said, you know, he actually now found it necessary and he did it from Karamoja. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable Paul, if you can sum up your submission, we come to Flavia. Yes.
Yes, I think that really...
So you see, your party is not as innocent in the trust equation. You rallied Ugandans for boycott. You left Honorable Mao yawning alone with no national ID. So there are also clouds around your house.
You've got to separate the individual from the institution. Well.
I mean, you're the chief executive, yes. Sir.
What I say and what I communicate in a medium like this is out of resolutions of our National Executive Committee, and we are very well organized. You know, we went to Hoima, and again talking about our friends from People Power. I nearly got roughed up. You know, a young man whom I really had never known, you know, accosted me over nothing. And being a mature politician, I viewed this as the act of an individual. And indeed, my friend Bobby, 2 days after that incident, called me up and said, I'm very sorry on behalf of this young man. You know, some of my young lieutenants sometimes get excited. I think that's the spirit that, you know, we in the opposition should actually, you know, stand by.
We need a retreat.
I'm going to get back to you.
And I think that we as political leaders are very key in this. Sometimes the institution does not push something, but that's not to say that they do not know what is happening.
Okay.
When there is an excess by a member, and it's not an institutional program or means of method of work, then it's incumbent upon the leaders of that institution to bring order by condemning such actions. You know, openly.
Fair enough. Flavia, you listened keenly to the cannibalism conversation. For now, you seem to be the proud benefactor, smiling about cannibalizing
the proud predator, the prowling the wilderness.
When you listen to these things, what goes through your mind?
Thank you so much, David. It's actually interesting to be in the same room and hear these conversations coming out with these gentlemen who we all have deep respect for and have learned from over time, and we really salute you for the great work you're doing in the amazing spaces that you occupy. But I want to first refer to what Honorable Mao said about their conversation when they were saying, when he went to approach Dr. Besigye saying, you don't fight a Goliath with a Goliath. So in my case, I was saying, okay, so if you're not fighting with Goliath, then you're bringing a David. And here we are, years after that conversation. We have a David amidst us. And unfortunately, the David is fighting to be accepted so that the David can fight the Goliath with a singular stone. So I think for me, there's a lot of paradox and, you know, in some of our conversations. And I think this being a truth and reconciliation platform right now, because I think that is what we are doing. I think we need, like Honorable Paul said, we need to stop backstabbing, but also to stop covering up for certain things, saying one thing and doing another thing. Because as opposition...
You know you have your own basket
Of
too.
course,
Yeah.
of course.
It's a full house.
It is, and I accept it, and because we are all not clean, we all have our own baggage and we have our own issues which we need to deal with. But I think what's most important for us moving forward, and as Ugandans, is how do we move forward as an opposition, going into an election that is fully charged up. The citizens are so ready for change. The ground is ready for change, but as the leaders, we are still struggling over some few things, which takes me back to the question you posed earlier, that how did we react or how did we receive the news of Besigye leaving? And it got me thinking about the context in which we operate currently, all of us seated here. Which context are we operating in? I don't think it calls for a celebratory factor or mood for us to celebrate as opposition that is leaving. I think it gives us...
It's a basket of glory
it gives
at
us,
NUP
of course,
headquarters.
in
Every
one
time
way.
you receive new people
in one
coming
way or
in.
the
It's
other.
a glorious moment always.
Some bittersweet.
I think, of course, but I think what's more important is for us to stop pretending. Sometimes we have to be honest with each other. To stop pretending that we are operating in a multi-party system, because clearly it is still a one-man, one-show, one-party rule that is governing us. And until we realize and try to lay strategies on how we can fully engage in a multi-party political system, how as opposition people, but also at the same time as NRM, we can be able to reclaim our political space, be able to reclaim our dignity. Number of times I have watched Honorable Besigye and a number of other opposition figures being the way that the government pounds on them heavily, the way we have seen citizens being stripped of their humanness, humanity and dignity, robbing them of hope at all times in every corner. Just recently here in COVID, we saw how people are trying to make a living, young women across on streets that were stripped of, we are even stripped of that. Whenever you look at that, you reflect on the country that you are living in and you say, hey, what are we going to do? First of all, to restore hope to citizens that have lost it.
You're speaking very eloquently about the problems, many of them out of your reach because there's a government that's responsible for that constitutionally. But I'm asking about the things that you have control over.
Yeah.
Celebrating political cannibalism within the same bottle that the Honorable Amuriat talks about. And I wanted to ask whether there's somebody at NUP who takes responsibility for the conduct and the actions of the supporters of the party. I think that with all fairness, the most rowdy political organization on social media, you beat the army of Engineer Amuriat hands down.
We even don't have an army. There's no need to have an army.
The social media.
No, we don't.
Yes, it's a very errant group of young people who will abuse anybody who says anything they disagree with, regardless of how much stature that person has in society. That's not a cadreship that you want to build as a youth-led party.
Of course, that's not what you want to build, and that's why I have told you that time again we come out to condemn these things.
They call it kuzoganya.
And unless you get us people and you say, this particular person, we will see how to deal with them. About the cannibalism, I don't think really there is any cannibalism even, because people have a freedom of moving to where they feel better, they feel like they can participate better and engage better. I think we still have a question of how to resolve conflicts in our organizations, because clearly some of the people that moved to us are people that I have admired and wanted to work with in a very long time. I know for a fact that so many DP people tried to court me into joining DP, and I said, no, I will not, because of what... Including Honorable Mao. And I said I will not go there because of what I believed in. But I really admired his people. So I think for us, it calls for not celebration, but it's a nice way to have people that you've always admired working closely with us. But I think I will reflect Honorable Power's statement that it doesn't call for celebration in the opposition side to steal from each other, but it's not really stealing for people to move.
He also organized a big one.
People move according to the change that they want. I think for me, what will make more value and impact is if we had so many people moving from the ruling party into our spaces.
Okay.
That
I just
would
want to
make
tell you
more
that you
impact
organized
than
the
for
big
us.
one when the Honorable Arias
See, by the way,
and he spoke in such an exciting way and
He
said
was late for
this day has been long. Yes.
They almost brought a
Elias
donkey to
Lukwago has been a hard nut to crack.
Okay.
It's been very difficult.
So you broke your
to
code
get-
of celebrating
to
cannibalism
get to
and then celebrated your own cannibalism.
But you see, the moment he really saw he was of no use to the DP, you know, he decided to find somewhere to go.
Oh, he thought the
Just
DP was of no
polit-
use to him.
But I think even all political parties have been political cannibals for a very long time. Even President Museveni kept moving from here to there to there. But I think it's okay for people to move to spaces where they feel better represented, where they feel they can iron out their views and things
Fair
like
enough.
that.
We're keeping
Yeah.
tabs on the Tango Doi declarations. A lot of people in the country have been following those results, and I think it's a good time for the moment to cross to plot 13 Chadondo Road and see what verdict, the lineup that the Honorable Mao, Honorable Amuria Toboy, and Flavia will be facing in the next election. Let's cross to plot 13 Chadondo Road.
How can you regret when you have two arms, yet he can survive with one arm? Onero Kasamba is the director for mobilization, but also a former member of Parliament of Uganda and currently a member of the East African Legislative Assembly. Is there any leader of the NRM I have not introduced? My name is Emmanuel Maradombo, former member of Parliament for Bunyole for 15 years and Bunyole East for 5 years. And now I'm a civil servant of the NRM. I'm a civil servant of the party. I'm not a politician. Don't ask me to speak politics. But Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, these media houses have been conducting opinion polls and they have been putting President Museveni at 47. And they say if opposition is combined, President Museveni will not be able to succeed in getting the 50+1%. That was an opinion poll. But recently, we had an opinion poll conducted throughout the whole of Uganda through the elections of the youth, the people with disability, and the elderly. Amongst the youth, we got 79%. There is no better opinion poll that would have been conducted like the elections. When you have the people with disability and the elderly, all that we performed
All right, we're
above
still keeping
80%.
tabs on the developments at plot 13 Chadondo Road, the home of the NRM Electoral Commission. We expect the Dr. Tango Doi to be announcing the results. I thought by now the lineup that the gentleman and lady here in studio will be facing is up. We confirmed that they're at 95%. They have a 5% tallying to do. So we can have a conversation here. And as I do a last round, Honorable Amuria Toboy, a lot of people, since you came out to declare that you'll be running for president, first going through the FTC process, a lot of people have seen you as a politician in the shadow of Dr. Besigye with no personal clout to actually run for the nation's top seat. And I think it's fair that you respond to that.
I think this is laughable. My track record speaks for itself. I got involved in national politics as early as 1980.
You've been around, huh?
Yes, for some time. I have since not given up on politics, including participating in students' politics. And my president is seated right here.
They got me elected.
Yes, while in Makerere. We had battles with the dictator in Makerere, resulting into the shooting down of 2 young people. their lives ended just like that. The Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, who is now an NRM fanatical supporter, was beaten to near death in Makerere. And the Honorable Mao escaped very narrowly by the skin of a tooth. He too should have been really beaten very badly. Some of us nurse scars all over our body out of the battles in Makerere of 1990. I have gone against all odds to climb and get where I am. Track record of 15 years in Parliament.
And by the finally beaten in your own
let me just say to you,
Kumi, yes.
participating in every election, these last 6 elections, I've been in the trenches. I took over the FDC, beating all odds. Actually, in the FDC, I'm referred to as the silent banner.
On outside,
and you know,
on the outside,
don't mind
some
that.
people refer to you as a project in the FDC.
That's what they have said.
Yes.
But I've disapproved them. Today, the FDC is more stable than it has ever been before. I have weathered the storm. How would a mediocre leader manage a situation where a section of the leaders of the party decide to walk out on the party and say, no, goodbye to you, we are not going to be with you anymore? Remember, the person leading them is a former leader of the party. Even winning the election, I was a despised candidate. You remember, even you doubted me. You remember, Sabit, you did that. You came to Nambole and you were like saying, are you really going to win this? I told you, Sabit.
My job is to ask questions.
Watch the space.
So don't interpret a question for a doubt, yes.
I am a person who can easily be despised. But I want to say I'm lethal politically. And you are going to see this. The general who stood on my way, I'm a commander, could not believe when the results of that election were declared. And I carried the campaign in an easy way, avoiding town hall meetings and living in the community, in campfires. And I want to reveal now that the election of the campaigns of 2021, to me, is going to be conducted that way. We are going to the villages, we are going to the population to conduct this campaign. We are going to live with them.
Okay.
And so, anybody can say, this quiet man from Kumi, been commonly
beaten in Kumi.
Yes, they said beaten. Yes. Beaten in Kumi without even knowing the circumstances that we faced. This gunship overflying the constituency, and Anyina, a military commander, participating actively in the campaigns and even issuing threats, telling the young people you'll be turned into humus. I have gone through the baptism of fire.
Okay.
And I think Ugandans are going to see more of me, in the months and days to come. And Sabiti, I will be offering to come here very often because I think that's what you want me to do.
Absolutely. Fair enough. Our time is fast spent, so I'll have the last words. And Flavia, finally, as we head out, by the way, you kept talking about principles, right? The principles of our party. Trust me, I don't think Ugandans have seen enough of what are these principles that this party stands for. We just hear, according to the principles at press conferences, where are these principles?
Well, thank you so much, Sabiti, for that question. First of all, when we unveiled NUP, we also unveiled what NUP stands for and these principles and values. We talked about them. We have flyers, leaflets that we have printed and we keep giving to people that come to office to know more about NUP. Unfortunately, today I didn't move with any, but we have them written down. We are also going to, They are also on our pages, on our social media pages. We have already put them out there. But also now we are talking about them and trying to act them out, so that it's not just mere talk on paper, but how do we live these principles, values, and basic things like fidelity, basic things like integrity, basic things like transparency, basic things like inclusiveness, things like teamwork, working together, very simple things. As you know, NUP is based and found on principles of Mutu wa Watu, to borrow Chairman Nyanzi's word, but on the ordinary person. So we are also trying to be as inclusive as possible.
Okay.
So these principles, and by the way, we'll be unveiling more leaders of NUP, and we'll also be unveiling our manifesto and policies. So all this is going to be coming out for people to know and to have and to hold. We are going to break them down further and translate them in different languages, so that even the person who is in Kasana in Chitumbi sub-county can be able to understand what NUP stands for.
All right, and finally, the Honorable Norbert Mao will have the last word after a long night of confessions as we sum up the show tonight.
I believe very strongly that anything can happen in politics. Obviously, it is our duty not to discourage the generation of Flavia and the young people who are nurturing the new party called NUP. The lesson here is that we should not put ourselves, the older generation, in a position where we are seen as shooting down a rising star. I don't think that is healthy. In Uganda, we have generations. The first generation born in the 20s and 30s led us to independence. They made their mistakes. I don't know whether the next generation learned from them. The next generation is the one ruling now, those born in the 40s and 50s. They have the most money, the most power. Then there's my generation with the engineer. That we call them the generation stuck in the traffic jam. And the Flavias are hooting furiously behind us. And we tell them, we are not the ones responsible for the traffic jam. There's some old Tata lorry there smoking.
Okay.
But our generation has the duty to be the bridge to your generation. And if you burn the bridge, things will not be good. Whether you like it or not, our generation has had the best education when we still had education in Uganda. We have the best skill sets. That's why we are everywhere in this country, running this country, not necessarily making the decisions, but we have the best skill set. So in general terms, we need each other.
Okay.
You have the numbers, you have the energy, you have the zeal. Many of you have experience from elsewhere. One thing about your organization is that you are not the typical politician. It is even difficult to attack you. How do you attack Flavia? Flavia is from a civil society point,
we have to go finally.
Who has been driven by frustration to jump into the political arena. So take a clear message that we are willing to be a bridge. A bridge may be the smallest part of the road, but it is indispensable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I look forward to a very elaborate conversation with Honorable Amory Atia in the coming days. I really want to look at his manifesto, and I want to follow him at those fireplace campaigns. And
has a manifesto in its almost final draft.
Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate. Thank you, Flavia, for your time. Thank you, Honorable Mao, for your dedication. And right about this time, we cross back to plot 13, Chadondo Road, the home of the NRM Electoral Commission. Thank you, gentlemen. The front line ends here. But of course, for those who are waiting for the results, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Dr. Tango Doi, and those who will be shedding tears and smiling after a long campaign. Let's go live to plot 13, the home of the NRM Electoral Commission.
The Electoral Commission of NRM under the leadership of Dr. Tango Doi. Thank you, and clap for them. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't dwell long. As I talk today, we as elders have achieved 5 parliamentary seats. Each region in Uganda, Eastern, Western, Northern, and Central are having 1 member of parliament, and 1 has been ring-fenced for women. The speaker here comes from Eastern and is an aspirant as a member of parliament for the older persons in Eastern Uganda. I therefore want to let you know that I'm determined to be in the 11th parliament, and I'm determined to set the foundation for the elders, and I'm determined to serve 5 years, and I'm determined to have another term. Thank you very much.
You have had that level of determination of asking for a second term even before you get the first one. That is how serious things can be. And we have Mr. Kato.
Thank you. My name is Kato Gabriel. I'm the National Chairman, NRM, People with Disabilities. NRM as a party is a broad-based party. It brings everybody on board. So when you look at other political parties, I don't even think that they have this legal person with disabilities. But because NRM is a mother and it brought us on board, we have 5 members of parliament from each region. We have a member of parliament plus 1 woman who is representing women with disabilities. People with disabilities support NRM on an ideology of bringing everybody on board. We have not been discriminated in our party from the grassroots up to national level. I would like to challenge the media. When you are trying to send a message to public, what are you capturing and what is your interest? At times, I see you when you are in public functions, you run with ministers, but you fail to capture the other local person who is interested to send a message to the people. Come back to the party and the candidates. It has been observed and it has been good that the discipline has been observed from the time when they were nominated as candidates for safe positions. And whoever wins, we wish him well. He will join us and we shall welcome you. Mobilization is not at Kampala, mobilization is at the village level. And I speak this because the director in charge of mobilization of the party is here. And he sent a message, but even the media, you need to be, at times, you balance the boat. You balance the boat. You don't undergrade us. 47%, that ranking is the, I don't see where it comes from. But we need to balance the boat. Because when you look at special interest groups, the way we participated, just concluded the election, then you might find that we have the support and we have the ground. Otherwise, I wish you well. And NRM members, we are ready to take up the government and we are still with it. And come 2026, we are ready to go on. Thank you.
That level of determination of making a declaration for 2026, even when we were processing for 2021, that is how forward-looking the NRM at times is. The men have dominated the speaking. Why not Honorable Chat Haile? People want to listen to your voice. The Deputy National Treasurer.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister, members of SEC, members of the Secretariat, and the media fraternity. It is humbling this evening to see all of you here waiting for the results of the elections that we have just had. This shows the seriousness that you all hold for the election that we just had. If you had not taken this election very serious, you wouldn't be here. And I want to thank you very much for giving your time to receiving these results. I want to thank all those that have participated to provide leadership, especially for our NRM party. And we continue to hope that you're going to continue pushing our party higher and higher. I want to thank the media fraternity for having taken us through this process of election since the time of expression of interest, the campaigns, the voting, and now the results. Being an unprecedented kind of election, it would have been very hard for us to reach out to people, for people to know what is happening, but you've enabled us to reach all the ends of this country, to know what is happening, and without you, it would have been very, very difficult. We can't thank you enough as a party, and we continue to hope that we shall work closely with you as we also promote other government programs to make sure that people do not only hear about looking for leaders, but also being able to harness things that will better their lives from the leaders they elect. I want to thank you and continue to hope that we shall cooperate to make Uganda a better country. I thank you very much.
The man from Kakuto and Chief Mobilizer. Today, Dr. Tango Doi is giving you the presidential flag of Beck. Tell us how you are going to deliver him to in the next elections.
Thank you very much, my brother Manuel Dombo. Our senior citizens, led by none other than the second Deputy Prime Minister, Alhaj Kive Chirunda Chive Dinda, the SEC members present, the senior managers of the NRM Secretariat, our host, the chairman and the team behind the Electoral Commission of the NRM, our candidates who have traversed the country aspiring, inspiring, and in a few moments some will expire as candidates of the Central Executive Committee. I want to take this opportunity to sincerely appreciate our Fourth Estate friends, brothers, and partners. I want to take this sincere honor to thank, to stand into any position. You wake up in your bed and you say, this one I will manage. And you say, I am standing. And the judgment is today. So I want to thank you all who dared to say you are taking up various positions as far as Central Executive Committee leadership is concerned. Central Executive Committee is the topmost policy organ that determines the directions of the party. It becomes much more important, especially when the party is in government. So I want to wish all the brothers and sisters who have traversed the corners to win the ballot, to ensure that we continue to win the bigger battle. I want to thank all the voters who have cast their vote. Whether you've lost, given it to somebody who has not made it, it is not a lost vote. It was your wish. And when I was still standing in Kakuto, I had a saying that in Uganda, wampa te wampa, wampa. So that was a winning strategy to give confidence to all my voters that I respect your opinion. But I appeal to you that we work together to build this country called Uganda. So I want to congratulate the NRM Mighty Party. And I want to congratulate the people of Uganda for the trusteeship they've entrusted with us, to be the one in charge of making a substantial contribution towards the transformation of this country. I want to appreciate the fraternity, the media fraternity. Thank you for the support you've rendered to us. As my brother Manuel has mentioned, this has been a yellow week. And in the remaining 6 months, we are going to see a series of activities. You know, when you talk of scientific elections, it is social media, it is print media, it is publicity. So, you are so central to us. And we pray that we run the business of reporting very objectively. As I wind up, I want to assure you, we the team at the Secretariat, together with the team in the Electoral Commission, it is no longer business as usual. We are going to forge a very strong, formidable team that will put a little bit of discipline. You know that this type of campaign is respectful of the SOPs of COVID. COVID is with us. We must respect, avoiding making rallies, avoiding serious crowding, avoiding too much contacts among the voters. So, I want to assure you, we want to win this battle of 2021 when everybody is still alive. I want to thank the Electoral Commission. Thank you for running this day's election hearing process. I want to congratulate the candidates. You've done us proud. All of you were worth the fight. I personally, as the Director of Mobilization, you have ignited and excited the population, and you've made my work a little bit easier. The only challenge, I think, the level of influencing voters. I am told there are certain sections where voters were asking, muzena make up with. How much have you put on? So there are so many excitement arrangements which you have left in the community. And we thank you. And as a party, we've already set the basis, and we are going to continue. Down there, you can see we are determined to facilitate the whole process. That is a sea of bicycles, the yellow bicycles. Mzee has already put in place to mobilize. We want to thank Mzee Museveni. He has made us proud as a country. And rightly so, Manuel Domba has mentioned, opinion polls are already ongoing. The SIGs, yesterday I was with the Senyoni on Star TV between 9:30 and 11:30. He agreed that we are just 2 weeks in formation as now. 2 weeks. But they are aspiring to take over the country. You can imagine. I am glad that we are going to continue to work together to stabilize this country and to transform this country. May God bless us. The opinion polls are giving us day in, day out. The future is brighter if we get organized, if we strengthen our caliber to build capacity to make sure that we have the capacity to maintain peace and stability and improving the quality of livelihoods and improving the service delivery. I thank you so much.
I consulted Major General Chaligonza, and he said, I'm a candidate. Do you want me to influence the outcome? But then he added that as a member of SEC, I'm a responsible person, and I can say something. Major General Chaligonza, greet the people you went to the bush to fight for.
You will excuse me, I'm going to talk a bit lightly, although this machine is going to increase our sound. The purpose is, of course, to keep ourselves within. I am a guerrilla operator. I wouldn't like my neighbors to start listening to what we are doing. They should watch it on TV. So, my dear comrades, I am one of those who feel satisfied when I see you all waiting here in a trance night. I know many of you enjoy your sleep, but this is a big sacrifice. You may not hold the guns as we did, but you have held the spirit of patriotism. You may not consider how important your presence here is, but those of you who have the duty of information do so with anticipation of serving others. Those of Mzee Kirunda here did it many years ago. Some of you, maybe your parents, were hearing people of the revolutionary, like late John Kakonge, Musala, Vedanda Sali, Bakintu Musoke. These were the Indian bandits, political bandits, who came and transferred their philosophy and ideology of development and struggle. But we used to call them communists, because by then anybody who was argumentative or sometimes arguing with passion would call them communists. So these people used to be communists. But here they are. We are busy emulating their commitment towards our national development. Comrades and sisters, I want to assure you Me, as a revolutionary, I am not discouraged. When I see you here, can you imagine? Everybody is patched up. We cannot see your lips. We cannot see whether you are laughing or annoyed. So that's why I can't even cause you to laugh. I would have cracked a lot of jokes so that the night passes without us feeling. But because of the masks, I cannot dare to disturb you because you have tied it. Those of you who are interested in the red lips, you can't see, so please bear with us. Anyway, on a serious note, I want to tell you the 146 or so districts which are now in Uganda are as a result of serious contemplations of bringing service nearer to the people. I have been in most of these parliaments, including the NRC, the expanded parliament, the 6th parliament, the SEC, the CARD, and so on. Now I am in the SEC. But all in all, it is serving the people through all modes of struggle and development. Now, when I see people talking about the 146 districts, I know it's a big surge of the districts. We are bigger than Kenya in terms of numbers. Kenya is bigger in terms of area and population, but we beat them in number of MPs, number of districts now, and so on. But what is it about? Is it extravagance? No. It's because we want to get together. You can see this small thing, how it has attracted many of you to be here with your cameras. The more you are, the more interesting and informative it becomes. The more districts we have, the more interesting and inquisitive we become. Now you can see Dr. Tanga is having a sleepless night, trying to tally the results of so many districts. Then Ndugu Emmanuel is busy talking. And when he talks, he satisfies people because people need information. You people of the press, I beg you, holding that camera is a gun of the eye. For us, we used to hold the guns of the trigger, but yours is the gun of the snapshot. When you take a picture, the picture is very informative and sometimes very effective in terms of information. You can take a bad picture, as my brother here is sleeping. I would say when he was waiting for the results, so and so they are sleeping, and the picture will be believed. So that's why I'm asking you, members of the press, to be very responsible. Don't do it for the sake of destroying people. And you should also build your profession. You should start saying this journalist or a photographer is a very nice man because he's serious. I am, of course, talking a lot because we are waiting for these people to make a results. Otherwise, if we all stop talking, we might have no business here. So when you men of cameras and women, I want to beg you to be patriotic. If you misquote me, you have got 2 or 3 people you are hurting. If you misquote government, you have got 2 or 3 people you are injuring, and even deviating the attitude towards government. So please, you have a duty. You are not holding the gun, but that machine you are holding is as dangerous as a gun if you misuse it. So secondly, I also wanted to remind you that it is through information some of us managed to fight the war. These gentlemen were in Nairobi as external committee. I was the one coordinating them. I would take the risk to work and so on. So I'm just giving you the information so that you know how division of labor can be very interesting. And at the end of the day, you achieve results. So please, members of the press, I want to thank you very much for having taken so much time, the commitment. I want to thank our Electoral Commission for this job. Now, after they have done this laborious work, when some people will lose out, they will accuse them of having either rigged or done. But you can imagine how much labor and effort they are putting in. So we should start appreciating people's work, however difficult, however disappointing it may become. So, at the same time, I want to thank my brother here, Emmanuel. This man to me, I think he is, should I call him? But, well, it might annoy him, let me not. He's a very swift man. You know, people who talk a lot sometimes are very useful. Because if you annoy him, he will tell you off straight. But because now he's still a new man, he's still behaving very well, but I know him. You wait after he has spent and got used to this job. You come with your nonsense, he will tell you off. But he's good because if you tell the truth to somebody, if he is understanding, he will appreciate you. So this is the Dombo. So Dombo, Emmanuel, I have been with you, both Parliament and in the politics. I appreciate your type of work, the way you work, the commitment. Shouting as he does, his voice goes very loud and it really informs the people. And now this secretariat as it is today, I'm seeing nobody, Anyigirwa Munoga. We have really gotten out the brand of people who must drive us to the next step. You know, these people, we treat them as taxi drivers. You sit in the car, you enjoy yourself, he delivers you, you continue. So they are the ones. And you, the cameraman and the information people, you inform us, you tell the people, if you tell the truth, wonderful. But if you misinform, you also create insecurity. So please, let's cooperate, work together, and live together. I want to thank you, sir, all of you who are here, spending all your night, good night, and listening to this Matayo Kyaligonza, the chairman of Western Region. He is still around, and he wants to serve you. Thank you.
I was consulting the Deputy Secretary General because, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister is here to represent the President, and I'm not best suited when his time of talking comes to invite him. That's why the Deputy Secretary General has been deliberately spared so that he will speak and then after invite the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you, Major General Kyaligonza, for those flattering statements. But I had the privilege to serve with Major General in the Parliament, and to us as young men, they used to inspire us because of what they had done in the bush and what they used, the stories they used to tell us. With these few remarks, I can take a break, and as we wait to be given a direction by Dr. Tango Doi. May you want to tell us how far, how near? Is it?
What you say is that when you touch one, you enter or you see results of, say, Central, then you have to bring results of Western. The person standing in Central must also be voted in Western, must be voted in Northern, must be voted in all those regions. So you are supposed to get all those results for all the positions. People have been complaining here, Right Honorable. First of all, Right Honorable, this is an election where I've not had any incident of violence in the countryside. Of course, there are demands for pay us first before we vote. In Amodat, I'll have a very detailed report to send. Pay us first. Then the chairperson of NRM takes the people away, almost into Kenya. Then we plead with him, we bring some 10. And that took us 7 hours. And Right Honorable, you were in my office as I was negotiating with him. Then another group mobilizes another section. As this 10 come, the other ones disappear. But we managed. Even Amodat voted. As we start election, Karenga gets raid, not from Uganda, but part of it from Ethiopia, and another from South Sudan, and washes away the culprits. And the electoral officials are stranded to the extent that they can't come from one village. Part of the village is this way, another on the other side. So those ones started election at 3:30, 3:45. Then Kotido, they say, with us we are in Moroto waiting for money. You have to negotiate with them to come back to Kotido. Electoral materials are there, but admin has locked them. So that's what we went. Good enough, you are in my office. And the banking system is not adequate. The money was sent by the Secretariat. So all that did not lead to bloodshed. And that's our happiness. If there's anyone who slapped the other out there, my team traveling will give us a report. As we speak, some results of the Karamoja area, our team has to drive up to Lamu to pick network to start sending. And they broke down in a bid. So we are really, that Buko has not yet come, but the others are there. Because in Buko it rained up to 5:30. And you have to pass Kenya and come back to Uganda. So this is how, but I must thank the NRM people and the candidates. The love they put in this exercise was so beautiful. But I want to regrettably state this for my leaders to know. This place here has never been a place for theatricals. Even when you see those bicycles there, you cannot even touch a bell and you get out. One got a pump. One boy came in and got a pump. He did not survive. He's in one again. And we shall get him out of the cells after 1 week. That is the discipline. You must come here. The press are here. They know their boundaries. But today, a whole set member came here and fought and beat up one person here. regrettably, the police, military people were not. We would have had a bit of pity. You drive your car inside here, out of frustration or whatever you've had, and you box a Ugandan who is an agent of another candidate here. It was so bad. I don't want you to listen and see the press that they have written something wrong. I witnessed it. I came down very quickly to rescue the station. It was bad. This place was going to have so many people either dead because two camps were fighting, Kampala, for Kampala. They were not Karamojons. They are not people from Toronto. There are people battling for Kampala. And instead of fighting in the streets, they came to fight in the temple of elections. I want to have my tenure in this place as a work of the party. My leaders, most of us sleep in these offices. We've slept in these offices for 4 or 5 days in shifts to produce these results. So if you come here and become a leader who is coming to fight because of your result frustrations, that should not be here again. Primaries for MPs will be on 4th September. We brought it forward because the MPs were not happy that councillors had been ahead of them, what ahead of them. So when they advised us and the Electoral Commission shifted the dates for councillors, we also had to look for slots. We could not give them even 7th because it is completely packed. We had to come backwards to 4th. And we have to display the registers because the complaints are many. And when we display, let us do that exercise so that you have a fair election. But what happened here, Director, when you left was not the best. You can't be a topmost person, then you fight people here. The boy was injured. The person he boxed. The press people were also kicked around because in the process of them looking for news, they actually experienced what we call occupational hazards. So that's what I want to tell you. Don't read the news and say, but why did you say? It happened in the full view of the press, and it is regrettable. I apologize to that young man who was injured. He's not here again. He must have gone for medication. I will take more in my notes. We are moving closer. Let me go back and see what percentage. If the percentage will not alter, if you see those results as they display, there are 2 columns, which is neck to neck. And we are very careful. There are 2 columns there which are neck to neck. Just look at them.
Just to give you a sample, of how Honorable Kasamba is preparing for mobilization. Some young girl from Isingiro came here recently looking for the NRM leadership with a song she sang. And for us, when we listened to it, we said, why can't we share it with you? Do you want to share it? Should I sing it for you? It is in Unyangoli. DJ.
Thank you. business.
When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will you